The suspect, we are told, got out of his car, jumped off of the bridge and into the Rio Grande River, and then swam into Mexico. I don't know how far of a drop that is. Clearly a very good drop. This man did not want to be caught, swam into Mexico. We understand Mexican authorities did also come very close to the border of the bridge as well and have been involved in the search for this suspect on the Mexican side of the border. This again still a developing story. We are trying to piece together some of the basic facts on this in terms of exactly what precipitated this chase. Sheriff's deputies still establishing a 1-mile perimeter, again, north of FM 2812 between Valverde and Uresti. Helicopters still searching out there and flashing the spotlights into the brush. So again, if you live in this area, you can either expect sheriff's deputies to come out and do a canvass, and otherwise I would be very, very cautious about answering your door or letting anyone come to the door unless you can confirm who they are. Dry piece of wood may not look like much, but this afternoon it turned into a lifeline. Sills says this is what he grabbed and thrust into the water so that the first girl could grab hold. We've got a pretty good start going here, but we really have a long ways to go. This is a big, big truck. You can hear my voice echoing all the way to the back here. We need to fill this thing up by the end of this week. Let me show you some of the stuff that folks have been bringing by so far today. Nothing really special, just the everyday items, notepads, glue sticks, pens, and number 2 pencils. Just the basic necessities, won't cost a lot of money, cheap little items all these kids need. One thing we couldn't help but notice is this large pile of debris these workers have been leaving on the side of the road here for the last several hours. Clearly this is a bit of a hazard. If this gets picked up by some wind, it's going to be a pretty dangerous projectile sent down the street. The workers here telling us that they are hoping a city crew comes by and picks this all up. This march looks like it's going to finish peacefully, but before it started, some of these people were talking about an armed white revolution. Debris strewn all over the road, as you can see. You can't even tell what some of this used to be. Apparently a car battery there. As of 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're now feeling sustained winds of more than 80 miles an hour. The closest point of approach for Typhoon Roy has been changed to just 12 miles north of the island. It's now set for 7:30 in the evening. In world news, a strong earthquake rocked Taiwan today, killing at least 3 people and flattening homes. Putin believes that hazardous fumes must have been sucked inside the building's ventilation system from the outside. This is the Eagle River substation where they have a public counter, and what we're going to do is walk around to the public counter and see what happens when someone in Eagle River wants to come here in person and maybe report a crime. Well, we can see that the door is locked and you have to press this buzzer to maybe get some service. I don't know how long it will take. We did see a patrol car come in and out. For the past couple of days, Judy Merritt and her family have been nearly working around the clock to clear the underbrush from their property. The out-of-control wildfire in the Chugach National Forest is now less than a mile from their home.
The smoke is making me nervous. The ridge, we've got a river right here, and we've got two hills right behind our house. And apparently it was at the second hill.
Judy has signed up to race the Iditarod next year, and they've been keeping half of her dog team in a truck. The U.S. Forest Service now has 200 firefighters on the scene to contain the fire, some from the lower 48 and others like this crew from the village of Grayling on the Yukon River.
And we don't have a line completely around it, and until we do, it's not a controlled fire.
They've shut down the Trail Creek campground where you can taste the smoke and see it billowing from beyond the trees. This is what everybody's worried about. This is what's fueling the fire. Tens of thousands of beetle-killed trees like this one. As you can see, the wood is so dry. When the flames hit this, the whole tree goes up in just a minute. At the Crown Point Lodge, they're watering down the building, hoping the flames don't get any closer, but expecting they probably will.
We've been up all night watching the thing, doing what we can. Initially, I thought they'd control it. If we lose the building, I'll be a lot mad.
The Seward Highway remains open, and from this pullout, tourists can take photos of the smoky panorama while area residents watch and wait. The Forest Service and state troopers have not ordered any evacuations yet, but either way, the Merritts say they're not going anywhere.
This is our home. You know, we are not going to start over. No, we're going to fight it.
They travel by the thousands from South Texas and other parts of the country every year, heading north for work. Their jobs are hard, their pay is low. Migrant workers like Maria Ayala say there's also verbal abuse.
They even called us wetbacks. They did.
Ayala and these other workers from Mission went to work for a company called Pioneer Hybrid International in Indiana about 2 years ago.
It wasn't right.
This is the type of work Ayala and the others did. It's called corn detasseling, part of the harvesting process. These workers claim their bosses forced them to work in fields while those fields were being sprayed with pesticides.
2 days later, we started getting some rashes on the body, and we even told them, but they didn't even pay attention until one of them got real bad.
Under federal law, agricultural migrant farm workers don't get some protections that people in other industries do. No overtime pay is provided. Ayala and the others say they were told they would be paid about $75 for each acre they detasseled. Most workers finished about 2 acres a day. Instead of being paid by the acre, they say they were paid minimum wage. After the first week, they only received $113.
After all those hard working days we had, like waking up early, getting all wet, like feeling all sticky and everything, for $113, it's not fair.
The workers say they were promised a total of $3,000 to $4,000 for 3 weeks of labor. Instead, they received about $400 each.
He made us feel like we were very low. Very low.
We checked federal court records and found that Pioneer International has been sued by South Texas workers at least 15 times, dating back to 1979. In some cases, the company and the workers reached settlement agreements with confidential terms. We found this case filed in federal court in McAllen. Several workers claimed they were not properly paid for work they did in Iowa in 2007. Last year, a judge ordered the company and a recruiter to pay a total of $13,800. That was divided among several workers. Some were paid a little more than $2,000. Some minors, underage workers, received about $400. Attorney Edward Sandoval says the laws are stacked against workers like Ayala and the others. Plaintiffs cannot recover punitive damages. They are meant to punish defendants for wrongdoing. Workers can only recover the amount of money they would have been paid in the first place, called liquidated damages. Sandoval also says the fines for breaking the law are small.
As in for the Agricultural Act, it was passed in the early 80s, and statutory damages are frozen, as in what they were back in the 80s, $0 to $500 per violation. There's been no stepping up because of inflation or passage of time.
Pioneer has a plant here in Weslaco. As you can see, the sign says no photos or video are allowed inside by employees or visitors. The company is headquartered in Des Moines, Iowa. No one would talk on camera, but they did release a statement. Because litigation is currently pending between TRLA and Pioneer, we believe the litigation is the correct forum to provide specific comment with respect to the allegations raised by TRLA. Pioneer denies the allegations and believes they are unfounded. We do have a long-standing, successful history of employing agricultural workers to work for Pioneer in Indiana and other states. Pioneer is not the only defendant in these types of lawsuits. In April, an Indiana company, Remington Seeds, reached a settlement with 91 people for work they did from 2006 to 2008. The company paid out more than $220,000 to settle the case. Remington's website says they treat their employees as family. The attorney for the 91 workers who sued says that was not true for her clients.
A lot of the workers went up there and got paid hardly anything and were stranded sleeping on the side of the road without even the money to come home. Some years they were also promised food on the trip, and while they were up there and they weren't, and they would go ask for food, they would ask the contractor for the food they'd been promised, and he would say, yeah, later, and so they were just going hungry without any transportation in these rural motels, without any way to even go to a grocery store and without any money to get food.
The settlement averages out to about $1,500 per worker after attorney's fees. While Remington does not have a plant in Texas, a judge ruled that workers can sue them in Texas federal courts because the company maintained continuous and systematic contact with the state. Remington released the following statement through their attorney. Remington Seeds utilizes independent contractors who employ in excess of 1,500 migrant workers each year who work in fields where Remington's corn is being grown, and 99% of them have had no complaints and enjoy the experience. Most of the contractors' workers come year after year to work in fields where Remington's corn is being grown. A judge also ordered recruiter Abel Mendoza to pay the workers $337,000 in the Remington case. Welch says they are trying now to locate him to collect.
Our Kirk Chaisson has the story. Kirk.
Yeah, this may not be an easy story to watch. Fernando Rivera has lived on food stamps since his operation last year. Now it seems there might be a chance he might be about to turn the corner to a better quality of life. This year has been hard for 52-year-old Fernando Rivera, a diabetic for years. Last November, he had a leg amputated because of complications from the disease.
Sometimes I have trouble getting up that little ramp.
In better days, Rivera worked as a tire salesman. He had a daughter. Now he's living in this squalid apartment with no air conditioning.
They just throw you away like they just tell you, well, tough luck. Do it however you can. I mean, like that, you know. And so you come in here, you try to find a fan, try to get in a corner and try to suffer it out.
Rivera says he's been turned down for Social Security disability and unemployment. We spoke with his brother by phone.
He's worked pretty much all his life since 17, and he's paid into the system, and to be denied like this, it's just unreal to me, you know. I see people with a lot less disabilities, you know, getting their disability checks, and I just can't imagine why he'd be in this kind of situation.
While we were talking with Rivera today, a caseworker from the Department of Family and Protective Services showed up. Guadalupe Martinez said he could not give us an interview, but he says he's been trying to help Rivera for months.
You can only help once because we're short of funds, and there's other people that might need funds, and since they already provided some assistance, but I'm going to try to get you an assistance with another funding that we have.
Martinez says Rivera won't always follow the guidelines required for assistance. He says Rivera sometimes won't take his medication. But if we can help him get into another place, that'd be great. Well, let me. Rivera's brother says he's in the process of finding him a better apartment to live in. The brother will pay for the rent and electricity. He's hoping the state will help with the deposit. And Rivera's brother says he's also worked with the state to help find a home health caregiver. That caregiver will help Rivera 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we'll keep checking back with Rivera in the coming days and keep you updated on his progress. Reporting from the newsroom, Kirk Chaisson, Channel 5 News at 10.